Today I want to talk about flooding. And I put a post up the other day about a house that fell into the sea after 3 months after they bought it. And I've taken a bit of stick for it because people seem to think I was rather unkind. Well, you know, if you buy a house and it falls into the sea within 3 months and it was a very, very cheap house, there could be a reason why for it. So I'm not going to apologise for that one. But what I am going to do today is tell you about how serious flooding is. And when you're buying any house, whether it's a house to live in, yourself, or whether it's a development, the flooding, you need to check out the flooding. It can be, it's in zones. So it could be zone 1, which is not a problem at all. Zone 2 may be a problem. Zone 3 probably is a no-go, and you won't get banks to lend you money on it. So let's just go through other scenarios because it's really, really important. And whatever development you're doing, you will probably need a flood risk assessment done by an expert these days. Okay? Very, very important. So flooding. You've got sea and coastal erosion. Obviously, this is what I was talking about on my socials the other day when I was down at Thorpe Ness, and it's happening in other parts of the country as well. I mean, that they lost 60 feet of cliff the other week, which is an amazing amount. So, you know, a lot of these coastal towns and villages are not being saved by the government. Some are being saved, some aren't. So it's very important if you're in a coastal area to check whether they're going to let you fall into the sea in the future or whether they're going to save you. Some areas they're saving, some areas they're not. So that's really, really important. The other thing is tidal surge. Now, I don't know about you, but I never quite worked this one out. So we were involved in a site in North Norfolk, which was probably 1.5 miles away from the sea. And we failed on planning, this is many years ago, because of tidal surge. And I thought, what on earth are they talking about? Well, this is when the wind gets up and it blows the waves, and the waves, you know, come in much further into the land than is expected. But I mean, my God, come on, 1.5 miles, honestly. It's never happened, but we failed on planning because of it, which is a total nonsense. So some of these things are nonsense and others are very serious, and it's difficult to decide quite often which one is which. So that is tidal surge. Then we've got rivers, of course. Well, rivers flood constantly these days, and you really need to know, you know, where the nearest river is, how often does it flood. Again, environmental agency are the ones to speak to about that, but it's really important. It really, really is important because, you know, you don't want to waste your time trying to get planning, or you don't want to buy a piece of land, or you don't want to buy a home if you might find in 5 years' time or floods the river floods once every 5 years, and when it does, you know, it's creeping up near your house, home, or whatever, because your home is such an important, you know, it's important that your home is safe. Another one is surface water. You know, again, this is a tricky one. So this is where, you know, the water lays on the road when it rains hard, and when it, you know, things flood, you can't get through because the lane is flooded. And I'm here in rural Suffolk, and we have that all the time at the moment. So, you know, surface water flooding, again, you'll need a report for that quite often these days. And groundwater saturation. So groundwater saturation is when it happens on a lot of these developments and stuff, where now there's so many hard surfaces, you know, they built a development, and in the old days, the ground would just get saturated and take the water. But now, because it's hard surface, it goes into the drains at such a fast speed that the rivers can't cope, and so it floods massive areas. Framlingham in Suffolk here, Ed Sheeran country, he lives down the road from Framlingham. You know, there were a number of new houses that were flooded 2 years ago, badly flooded because of this. And we did a development in Birmingham quite recently, and we had to put retention tanks in. So these are tanks that so you have a tank, so the surface water goes into a tank, and then from there goes into the drains. So it doesn't go into the drains at such a fast pace, I should say. The other thing is, on that particular development, we've had to form a management company in order to make sure that all the necessary drains are cleaned once a year to make sure the water goes into the drains. We also had to create what's called water gardens, which I never heard of. Water gardens. I'm still not sure what they are, but anyway, the architect sorts it all out. I imagine it's where the garden can hold the water rather than spilling out over the paths and the roads and basically into your home. So these are all things that you really have to watch. And climate change, whatever anyone says, this has an effect. Whatever Donald Trump says. And I agree with Donald on a few things, but not on this, because I do think there is definitely, 20 years ago, we never had all these problems with drainage and so on. And the very last thing, if you're doing a bigger site, you need to be able to put in a pond that takes the surface water. So none of the surface water from the drains and that sort of thing, the guttering, none of that goes into the main drainage system, the foul water system. There is a retention pond and it goes in there. And when we did the development in Fife in Scotland, one of the challenges we had is we didn't have this pond. So we had to create the pond in order to be able to complete the houses and sell them. We sold all 26 to Fife Council, but we had to create what's called a suds pond in order to do so, to take the surface water. So these are all mitigating things that you have to do in order to get planning these days. So be careful with flooding, take it seriously, and check it out before you purchase. See you next time.